can send a email message. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Dresden Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting tonight. We're starting tonight with a public hearing at 5:45. We're running a minute or two late, but we're having a public hearing on an ordinance tonight. It's election day wording change, and it's for our charter. It's ordinance 2021-02. And we're also having a public hearing on loud exhaust ordinance 2021-03. And if anybody has anything to add to those, you can email our city recorder now at cityrecorder@cityofdresden.net. City recorder at Dresden, city recorder at cityofdresden.net for public comments. And the public hearing will be open to 6 o'clock. We will accept any public comments made, and they will be shared with our aldermen prior to a vote on the ordinance, those two ordinances tonight. Well, you got some counter protesters across the street.
Do what?
He's got some counter protesters across the
That's
street.
a good idea. Now, this been everything on or off?
It's on. It heard you. Go ahead.
It's on, I'm not saying.
It's got good ears.
I'm not saying. I've lost my batteries case, so I won't get to have a new battery in here. I don't know where it is. I guess I've lost it.
Science, he said something about he's been here every time. And
Oh, Stan wanted me to ask you, he's wanting to put and I know it's commercial, but he was wanting to see if we could rezone that corner lot down there and put a double wide trailer, 3-bedroom, 2-bath down there.
Have to be a modular home, double wides, or, you know.
it could be a modular home, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
I
nice.
thought those people were trying to buy that lot from him.
Yeah, they'll give him $1,000 for it.
They did give it,
Then, no.
That's all they offered.
$1,000 for it.
yeah.
So he wanted to ask you, and if you would send all the information. And can he put a trailer up here on this other lot?
You put a modular home?
What do you,
That's the same
when you send that to him, would you put just module home?
Now, what that basically is a double wide.
Right, well, this one is here, it's a
Yeah.
3-bedroom, 2-bath, and somebody he can buy it from. So.
You know, the one
Got somebody recording for us, look at all. Guy across the street recording for him.
Which one?
In the gray shirt.
Oh, the kid?
Is anybody out there with him?
Who is that? Hello? Hey.
There it went. There it went.
Did have a permit or anything to have a protest here in the city of Dresden?
No,
No requirements for permit?
no, you just can't disturb anybody.
Found one.
So he didn't realize that's for his own safety, right?
doesn't matter.
Well. It's bad because Bo's coming in here and he can't come
Tell that lock the door, money.
How you doing in your campaign.
About to wear myself out, to be honest with you. It's easy to do.
I know.
And it ain't no knocking doors like it is
That's
here
the
in Dresden.
hardest thing, that's what, because I did. But I was young, a lot younger than you. And I ran.
But you remember when I ran for mayor, I knocked on about 80% of the
All
doors.
right,
I
how are you?
thought that was great.
You doing good?
Oh, I hadn't.
Well, that's good.
I'm not doing
No,
door knocking.
Good.
Good.
We're gonna allow social media, mail pieces and phone calls.
This way.
Talking
about.
Well, what way do you want to set it? What way would you want to set the other one?
No,
So you look out the window?
no, mayor's got the swivel chair, I'm gonna let him put his best friend there.
He needs to go to ask the governor about whether he's right, has the right to come in this meeting. He can get on like everybody else.
Are you putting any signs down? I've never bought signs for city election in my life. There's two idiots that put the signs out.
Did y'all see the email we got back from Robert?
Put signs out.
Crowell?
I just don't, I put people in,
Appreciate that.
I- you know,
Put me in a box.
Yeah, I
You
briefly
put me on
looked at it, and I
defense.
was
You put me
talking
on
later
defense.
about
I
it.
will defend myself.
Yeah,
I'll tell you
40.77 acre.
you know, I have enough respect for my
774, I
friends.
think it has.
It's
That's all
all
that does not equal the purchase price.
when you see that sign,
Mhm.
it makes you feel.
It's about $1,000 or so dollars.
Well, it does, it does.
All right, we're having the Dresden Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting tonight. Right now, we're having a public hearing.
This group right here.
And the public hearing is on Election Day wording change for an ordinance 2021-02. And all that ordinance does is change the definition of when our city elections held and bring it in compliance with state law. And the next ordinance on the docket tonight is the loud exhaust ordinance 2021-03. Those are the two ordinances that are being taken up on second reading tonight. And if you would like to
Sandra.
send any public comment to that, you would need to,
Yeah, I'll put my mask on.
I will.
you would need to email city recorder at cityofdresden.net, cityofdresden.net.
No, you don't. You just wait.
They're more comfortable, I'll put it on.
Okay. That was that word, not doing this for it looks.
I'm so
Mayor also got a call back.
What is this?
Specs. He said that was probably the position then, so hopefully I'll have a conversation with him tomorrow. And he said that they were very willing to go ahead and work through the matter.
Welcome to the Collaboration Center. Please enter a conference ID. The moderator has not joined the conference yet. Please wait. To turn off the music, press pound. Press star for help. Press 1. To get the list of participants, press 2. To log in as a moderator, press 9. Please enter the moderator. You have joined the conference as a moderator. You will now be placed into the conference. You are the first participant in the conference. To turn off the music, press pound. Press star for help.
That's branches.
Jeff, they get price on get the kids to this train.
That's the one they bid right there, that one that can be used for both mowing and brush limb cutting.
We got, yeah, the purchase price came out to $29.87, so they got to come up $50. Yeah, go ahead and tell them it's 3,000 acres.
One like that one? Well, that's exactly what the county's got. Carrie and I both have seen it
The
operate.
purchase price gotta be just.
And that's the same tractor the county's got, that low bid that there is.
Thousands of acres.
Or what you're talking about, like, sign on,
Because
they can't
you
get
do
to, you're talking about, say, down
3,000.
Yeah. There is, where it's a little further down, they can mow further down the banks, or they can go up and over.
Yeah.
That thing will sure, and get some of these limbs that are overhanging some of these streets out back
Oh,
on.
yeah. I like that. People call me about Sarson. They're getting on.
Yeah.
Little camper there, 2,000. Bigger truck.
How's your boy doing?
I'm good. Locked in the.
Which it took an actual cost, we had it broken anyway, so back.
His doctor has to
Who is?
go back for you.
Oh.
He's gotta go up to the teacher.
Hello, folks.
Lunch plan.
Hello, Doc.
How are you?
Good.
She gets out here so fast, I don't ask him.
I was telling the mayor, I got this back to Parker in the last week, he said, did some light work. So, I told him, I said, "Well,
Would you-
I got some time for the schedule going, so I circled
Well, sure, I can understand.
between that list, so it's still.
That's assuming that I'm able. It may be so long.
Or if you're.
I'd like,
I'd be
Okay, good.
I'd be happy to.
I say let's go ahead and present some lists.
I hope I don't have to do anything without any time soon.
I'm getting it ready.
Mayor, if you're allowed, I'm gonna propose that we make that project be in lieu of any financial penalty.
Sure. Oh, get my funeral.
All right, we've been having a public hearing tonight on a couple of ordinances. It's been opened at 5:45. We have a public hearing on the election day wording change, or our charter, wording in our charter that's under ordinance 2021-02, that wording would be changed to reflect what the current state law is. Under second ordinance, 2021-03, loud exhaust ordinance, we're having a public hearing on it, and we're about to close here in a couple of minutes. It's an ordinance that specifies the decibel in which a loud exhaust ordinance could be, citation could be issued based upon a decimal meter reading instead of the officer's interpretation of what's loud and not loud. Those are the two ordinances up for second reading tonight. We're having the public hearing as I speak, and we're going to close that public hearing in about 1 minute. You can comment if you would like to, or provide public input on that, either of those two ordinances by emailing our city recorder at cityrecorder@cityofdresden.net. cityrecorder@cityofdresden.net. And she will relay those public comments to us. Yeah, come on.
What?
He said we're all cards.
Mayor, I'm
Oh,
sorry.
he's coming.
I remember the last time you almost got into it with somebody
He's
else.
coming in.
I'm tired.
He's coming when I'm saying he's coming to the door. Jeff said, come on in.
If I have to pull the paper off,
Well,
I
he
get
will be
pictures,
there.
I can show the workers' comp. Or am I just on my?
We'll submit it next month.
All right, it's 6 o'clock. I declare the public ordinance closed, and we'll proceed on with our meeting. I'll call our regular meeting of the City of Dresden Board of Mayor Alderman to order, and ask our city recorder to call the roll.
Wayne Anderson,
Here.
Lyndall Dilding,
Here.
Joyce Hart,
Here.
Sandra Clutt,
Here.
Kenneth Fuller,
Here.
Willie Parker.
Here.
Yeah, if he's going to disturb our meeting, he could be arrested for disorderly conduct or disturbing the peace.
Look at the camera.
All right, declare all the aldermen present and that we have a quorum present, call the meeting to order. Welcome everyone to our meeting tonight, and invite you to listen to the business of the city of Dresden as it's conducted on our YouTube page. It's being broadcast live and as well as being recorded for later review for anyone that would like to see the business of the city of Dresden conducted under the guidelines that Governor Lee has set out in his executive orders that were re-updated just very recently. So having said that, I'm going to ask Alderman Lyndall Dildy to give us the invocation, and this being the 9th month, let's see, Alderman Hurt, would you mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this month? All right, if you would, please stand.
Lord, we thank you for this day, this opportunity to come before you. Lord, we thank you for your goodness and mercy you have shined upon us. Lord, we ask you to keep your hand upon us, lead, guide, direct us in the path that you would have us to go. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I
pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, you have received the minutes of the previous meeting in your packet, and any additions or corrections to the minutes as they've been typed and sent to you? Hearing none, do I hear a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Dildy, second by Alderman Klutz. If you would call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fielding,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Klutz, Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay, motion to approve the minutes is approved. Communications from Mayor, I have a card from Carrie and Cindy Cooper, and it says, City of Dresden Mayor, Board, and staff, thank you so much for your prayers and support during this difficult time. Thank you for the beautiful peace lily. It was gorgeous. It was greatly appreciated, Carrie and Cindy. And that's a card that he left to be read tonight to the board. We have several items on the business on the table tonight, and including some bids and things that we're going to review later on. But we'll proceed on now with any input from citizens that we might have received.
Not received anything.
Okay. No input from citizens been received via email. We'll move into employee reports. Our finance director, Carla Edwards, is on the line, and you'll have her written report. Is there any questions of Carla about her report? None? Okay. Kerry Cooper, our Public Works Director, is on the line, and he's submitted a report. You've read that, and any questions of Kerry about that? Okay. Hearing none, Water Plant Superintendent Jeff Pierpoint is on the line. Any questions of Jeff? Let me tell you, we bought an aerator out for the lagoon. You might remember we approved a bid for that a few months back. They're in the process of getting that installed in the big cell out at the lagoon. There's a second aerator for the smaller input cell that is in the process of being repaired. It had some electrical problems with it, and it's going to be repaired. So we're making some progress on that. I will also, well, I'll come back to something else a little later. Any other thing from Jeff Pierpoint? The water system was working good. The variable speed motor control that we bought to gradually build speed on the pump motors as when they kick on and to slow them down as they, as it finishes pumping a cycle, are completely installed, and they are working, and the purpose of all of that was to prevent surges in the water lines, a water hammer effect when the pumps kick on, and then once again when they kick off. Before it was just a sudden full power and a sudden stop, but with these variable speeds controllers, it allows a gradual buildup of speed on the pumps and gradual increase of water pressure, which prevents a water hammer. We had some people in town that had complained about that, and that's the reason we recommended that we buy these variable speed controllers, was to eliminate that problem and also potentially eliminate problems with water line damage as a result of the hammer effect that would have occurred as a result of it. So that was an improvement we made to the water system. Our acting police chief, interim police chief is with us tonight, and you received his report. Any questions of Chris? Okay, Park Director Joy Winstead is on the line. Any questions of Joy? Hearing none, we'll move on to our fire chief. I don't know if Paul's on the line or not, but anybody?
I'm on the line.
Are you there, Paul?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we've got your report here before us as well. Does anybody have any questions of Paul? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to the next section on our agenda, reports from aldermen or advisory committees. Any aldermen have any reports on anything, or?
I've got a question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Has the railroad deal has been finalized? It's put on hold there because the land tracking, the land the city owns up here by the gas company, gas and all.
Oh, that's been put on hold pending. You might remember one of the partners in that deal passed away, and they're going to sort through the estate matters and then come back to that. So it's currently on hold.
I actually have an update for the board on that matter. I actually received a call from Angie Oliver today, the executor of Mr. Terry Oliver's estate, and she has, from what I've gathered, got guidance for me as far as putting the other half of that property in, a devised deed for Terry's portion of it. So I've already spoke with her and Mr. Sam Bone in the past, so hopefully we'll finalize that deal this week.
Good deal. Any questions? Okay.
Mayor,
Yes.
what about the street on the stoplight 54-22? We got bulbs out.
Yeah,
both
got
directions.
on the Greenfield side of it, particularly got two bulbs out, looks like to me.
Can we go to LED?
We can, let's see, we had applied for a grant. We got a grant for one light only.
There's money in the budget for LED lights. It's just a matter of purchasing them and getting the lid printed to get them all changed out.
It's just changing the bulbs, isn't it?
But we're blowing bulbs.
I understand, but it's changing bulbs from a regular to an LED bulb.
Yeah. And I do remember now that we did include in the budget this time some money to purchase LED lighting for those out on 22 in particular.
Someone just asked me, said, if the other light goes out, said, and they have a bad wreck, the city of Dresden will be liable.
Mm-hmm.
We just mentioned all that at the department head meeting Friday, so
Yeah.
hopefully it's on the list and moving to the top quickly.
I hate these lists. Always line up on the bottom.
Okay, any other reports from aldermen or questions from aldermen? If not, we'll move to unfinished business. Ordinance 2021-02 is the election day wording change to our charter to allow for our wording to be updated to match the state law on the election date in November, the general election date in November. Do I hear a motion to approve on second reading? Alderman Hurt makes a motion. Alderman Dildy seconds the motion. Discussion. Hearing none, if you would call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fielding,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Clutch, yes, Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay. Election day wording change ordinance has been approved on second reading and after a public hearing, and it will become effective immediately. We have a second ordinance on the agenda tonight, the loud exhaust ordinance 2021-03. This is an ordinance that changes the wording of our existing excessive noise ordinance. And it would, what the change is establishes a decimal level instead of leaving it to the officer's discretion about whether it's too loud or not. There will be purchasing a decimal meter, and that meter will read the level of the noise. If it exceeds the established decimal level in the set out in the ordinance, which by the way is a very reasonable level of noise in comparison to what other states have passed that we've looked at. So it's on the upper side of what most other states have changed. So we're not getting real restrictive with it, and but we're trying to be fair with people. And but the trucks that rattle the windows and the music that rattles the windows and things like that would be addressed with the use of a decimal meter. Do I hear a motion to approve on second reading? Got a motion by Alderman Clutch, second by Alderman Parker. Any discussion of this ordinance?
Yeah, I've got just a few. I was looking at it, and it appears that no state is actually picking a decibel level in which you say, okay, it's this decibel and not. Most of them seem to be addressing to say something like in Hawaii, change from the factory design as to increase the volume and audibility. They were just saying, you got to leave it the way it was. You can't change it to increase the level over what the vehicle was when it was produced. And it seems like that would be easier for our officers as opposed to having a meter and you have to hear it and you got to stick it out and see what that number was. Is if you've got a suspected, if you think somebody's exhaust, you can stop them and then check and see what the level is and see if it exceeds what the factory was. That was just one thing that I see it being, well, as we wrote it, somewhat difficult maybe to enforce. So that was just my thoughts.
Mayor, if I may, ladies and gentlemen of the board, in review the various states, like Mr. Anderson has pointed out, in order to give the officers an objective reference point, if you will, in order to be able to stop a vehicle and to engage in a check of this ordinance, it always proves helpful to have some objective measure, because when an officer comes up on a stop for a vehicle, they may not have the ability to know if an exhaust system, for example, is been modified from original factory settings, for example, if it's been done internally versus externally. So if you have a decibel meter, for example, that measures the sound level, that gives the officers an objective reference point to engage a traffic stop to say, sir or madam, the decibel meter shows your vehicle is operating at 105 decibels, which is in excess of our ordinance. That's the reason I stopped you. And it proves to be an articulable reason if that officer finds additional probable cause to engage a further traffic stop of that vehicle. So this way it gives the officers and the public fair notice of what is considered to be acceptable. And for reference, 90 decibels is about the same level of noise as a lawnmower, riding lawnmower operating at full blast that you would hear, in somebody's backyard going up and down the road. So most of your car exhaust, unless there's something wrong with the vehicle, shouldn't exceed that unless they are otherwise modified. So in discussing it with the mayor, doing a review of some other states, such as Nevada, I believe, and others, an objective verified level proves to be the most effective way to give both fair notice to the public and to give the officers enforcing it a reference point. that's why we went with an objective standard as a proposal to the board for the ordinance.
You know, and that's probably, some states, you know, Florida, for instance, it's a convoluted thing. I don't know how they ever figure anything. It's going so fast and from this far away, I can't see how you could ever come up with anything that you could equivocally say. And some of them were fairly simple. You just can't modify it. You gotta keep it simple. But I'm fine.
And I understand that, but also I understand that I might want to put an exhaust that's a little more efficient on my vehicle, but would not be any louder. And that technically would be a violation because I modified my exhaust.
Well, no, not what they're saying here. In such a way that it would increase the noise. And so you could modify it anyway, as long as it didn't exceed the manufacturer's original level. But I'm okay. You can call the question.
Okay, I don't, have we had a motion second? Okay. All right, got a motion second, and question's been called for. If you would call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Dillon,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Lutz,
Yes.
Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Ordinance 2021-03 has been approved by unanimous vote of the city board on second reading after a duly conducted public hearing. And we'll move forward. Then the next item of business is our boom tractor bids. The board was kind enough to include in our budget this year funds to purchase a mower with a boom mower on it, so we could reach out and mow sideways along the tree limbs, along roads, and even overhead on this. This is a cab over tractor. I believe there's been a picture of it passed up and down over there. And what that particular mower looks like, that is the low bid mower. That's the low bid mower. That's also the same mower that the Weakley County Highway Department utilizes. I believe they have a couple of them just like that. And it would be a cab over tractor. It would, for the safety of the operator from the limbs and things. And this tractor, last year when the county was out my way mowing one day, just outside the city limits, Lindell asked if we might hit going down the hill there by Kerry Harris toward the tunnel. And the county was kind enough to do that and did an impressive job, I think, of moving the limbs and things back out of the way and keep them from slapping the sides of trucks and vehicles as they went up and down the road. We have many, many streets in our city where we have that problem. And this would be beneficial on use of the streets. And as Alderman Hurd pointed out to me a little bit ago, the key to all of that and spending money on something like this is making sure that it gets used. And I agree with that 100%, that if we're going to buy a piece of equipment like that, it needs to be used regularly and for the purpose for which it was intended. This mower would also mow on slopes off the sides of roads and in ditches that ordinarily could not be reached by our current equipment. So it would have a dual effect in that regard.
That would be a good one to use on Child Street, which is never cleaned much, and it certainly does need it. And that would be a good one to start off with, to clean it all up.
Mm-hmm. Got several in Poplar Street down from the cemetery out to Miss Mowbray's house. And
Linden Street, right there by the old city building.
yes,
That's terrible. They go sidewalk.
it
You know,
is.
Child Street's used an awful lot. Awful lot.
It is.
Uh-huh.
Any other discussion on this? Carrie, you there?
I'm here.
All right. You've had a chance to look at these bids. What is your opinion of the bids?
Well, I think we need to go with the lowest one. I think I talked to Charles Ross, and That's, they said they hadn't had any trouble, and that company is real good about sending people around all the time to make sure whether we need anything. It's, well, the new name of what it is now on the tractor is just old. It's what they used to call forward tractors. They're good tractors, and the mowers, according to Mr. Ross, it really gives them a lot of good service.
Don't have any questions to Kerry about. He's seen it operate. I know Lendell's seen it operate along the side of the road on Old 22. I've seen it operate. Willie's seen it. The similar, very similar equipment operate.
I have to.
I think it's a good idea.
I make a motion, take the New Holland bid.
Okay, got a motion by Alderman Dildy to accept the New Holland bid. And that dealership is
Dixon County Equipment.
Dixon County Equipment. And that bid is $115,000 for the tractor, the cab, and the mower with the boom arm on it.
I second that.
Got a second by Alderman Klutz. Any discussion?
Was it the same mower on all these tractors?
No, it's not the same mower, but they're all very similar.
But they all meet the specs.
They do.
Different brands and different.
It's just Dixon, the closest place to get it worked on if they have some problems.
No, I believe there's actually a New Holland dealership at Paris.
I'm like more so where are we getting our money?
We actually,
It's in the budget.
we budgeted that money in this time. Yeah, we did.
I couldn't find it.
It's in Public Works line item, 900, 940.
I overlooked it then.
Okay. We did budget it this time, and there's money in the budget to pay for it. Any further discussion? If not, I'll ask the city recorder to call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Dilding,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Klutz, Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Paving bids is the next item on the agenda. We received two bids on that, one from Martin Paving and the other from Ford Construction. Kerry has reviewed those bids, and we've actually making a recommendation to in regard to the amount of money that we've got in the budget. There's $160,000 currently available to do paving with this year in the budget. I think you might have got this sent out to you, showing where we're recommending to pave Red Hill Road from Bible Union Road to the north end, to pave Old Latham Road from Highway 118 to the end of the city limits home. That's the Old Latham Road. And pave 1/4 of Lamb Road. It would start there at Northside Drive and go up to the top of the hill. It's a little rough on that hill, but the rest of that road is in fairly decent shape. So just 1/4 of it for $6,500. To pave South Poplar Street from Moore Street, which is there by the walking trail, this side of the walking trail, down to Locust Street, which is the street that Gwen lives on that runs from Pikeview over to Cedar Street. And then to pave Highland Street from South Poplar Street to 1/2 of the way. This would roughly go up the hill, make the first curve, and that part of that street is in a little rough shape. And the half of that street has been paved sometime in the future when the whole street wasn't paved, and it's to meet where it appears that the old paving stopped, the previous new paving stopped. And we're deleting Linden Street from Locust Street to Moore Street for this year. You see that would have been roughly $112,000 thereabout, just for that one street. And to pave Bible Union from Red Hill Road to the city limits. That's up there next where the water tank is. It just sort of slides down the hill and heads out toward Bible Union Road, to the first house that is on that road that is where the city limits end. So this would basically get everything in the north part of town in good shape. And next year, we would be able to come back and maybe look at Linden Street or Cedar or Parkway or some other street that is much in need. And we've got several of them that are in need of.
Parkway needs it really bad,
Yeah.
but it's got to be cut this time.
Yes, it would. And you see what the cost, the cut is, was $28,000
Yeah.
just on the Linden Street. And that's going to be pretty similar for every one of those streets as far as the cost of that. South Pomper did not need to be cut this time. If you've been down it, you know that coming off the hill from School Street, there's quite a problem there with holes at the bottom of that street, and there's some other places along that street that the pavement's getting weak, and so that was to address that problem. What we tried to do is take a look at the most urgent need this year, and then move on next year and catch the most urgent need. And just from looking, I'm going to tell you that Linden Street is a pretty urgent need. Evergreen is getting pretty urgent as well. And every one of those are going to have to be milled on the rest of the way out there where the curves are pretty much, and paved over so much. But what I'd recommend we do is take this recommendation this year and then move next year to looking at some of these more bigger projects and concentrating on smaller streets or single streets or a couple of streets instead of trying to sweep everything, like finish up on the north end of town. Any questions or discussion on that? Do I hear a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, we pave the streets.
Okay. And got a second by Alderman Parker. Motion by Alderman Anderson, second by Alderman Parker to do the paving of the streets
In accordance with your recommendation.
in accordance with the recommendation. And any discussion at this time? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Fielding,
Yes.
Hurt,
Yes.
Klutz, Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
We are going with the lowest bid, aren't we?
Yes, it was, on each one of the streets, it was the lowest bid.
When we talking about paving, Mayor, what do we do about where the old underpass was?
Martin Pike is supposed to be looking for some price on that, Mayor.
Yeah. Which one?
Martin.
Martin paving.
Not Martin Pike, Ford Construction.
Ford Construction, one that just got the bid, is gonna look at, there's actually about $10,000 or more available in the budget for patching and things other like that. And we're gonna move on to a patching budget in just a minute, but there would be enough money left in the budget to actually do that. Now, it's the responsibility of the railroad, since they contracted to have that taken out, and they admit that it's their responsibility. What we're talking about doing is taking our bid that we got on the tonnage and things for asphalt, paving it, sending a bid to the railroad for reimbursement. That's what we're currently talking about doing on that. And the railroad is supposedly, they had a contractor that walked away from them and they're left with it. So we thought we might help facilitate getting that done. And it needs to be done before winter gets here for sure.
does.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
they were working on that side, when I came home earlier, working on the old tunnel. They were tearing out the old asphalt. Looked like they were getting ready to put some new down, at some one time.
Good, good. Speaking, it happens, doesn't it? Well, that's good to hear, and I hope that's taken care of, because I've had several people out that way address me about it. We've been working steadily on trying to get the railroad committed to getting that taken care of, and they have committed to it. They've just had a little trouble requiring asphalt companies. We've been told that Ford Construction could get to this asphalt jobs here in Dresden, probably sometime during the month of October that it would be finished. And
Good.
they have been busy all summer trying to catch up with various projects. We had a roll call on that. Okay. All right, anything else on that? All right, let's move on to hot patch bids. We've got a couple of bids for hot patching that we took, and we'll need help here. But PRI gave us a bid for hot patching of $18,133.75.
Martin Paving actually included theirs at the bottom of their paving bid.
Martin Pavings was at the bottom of their paving bid, and
$18,750.
$18,750.
And Ford,
And Ford said about $7,000. That's what they gave us.
Oh,
$250 per ton, and they estimated that the tonnage that would be required to do the patching that we specified up to $7,000. And they would do that while they were in town. That's one reason the price is so much lower. They wouldn't have to move equipment here.
What's this Evergreen driveway connection that came in at $4,300? It's at 53 feet by 10 feet. And
Hey, Kerry,
Yes,
740 Evergreen, a driveway connection, 50 feet by 10-foot width. What was that?
well, I don't have that with me here. That's the driveway that we had to cut, that we cut up to replace the culvert.
Okay. Oh, I know which one it is. It's up there across from the Civic Center, isn't it?
Yes,
Would
it
be
is.
next door. As you're coming down South Parkway Street, it's the first driveway. If you turn left it would be on the right-hand side of the road.
What
Wait.
distance did you say, 10 foot or 50 something foot?
yeah,
Sounds like we're replacing the whole drive.
It's, it does sound rather long.
I don't,
You're not gonna do the whole thing.
and then you got
well, I don't
Head,
think that's about 50 foot. I don't think it's any 50 foot wide.
Head Start.
Probably be 10 foot up, but it shouldn't be 50 foot wide.
Now, these measurements are based upon, this is on the PRI bid that is cited.
Okay.
Is that their measurements? Is that their measurement or the measurement we provided?
No, they was all supposed to measure them themselves.
Okay. And is that's included in the Ford construction bid as well?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So Ford construction bid for all of it was $7,000, and then that was PRI's bid. But it is where we did a driveway. We cut across the driveway, but it's only maybe 24 inches wide, and put a new culvert in there where the culvert was smashed in. We're just repairing the end of the driveway where we cut across it.
I was just looking at the size of the
Yeah,
area at 53 feet.
I agree.
And you got a 40-foot one that's on the Head Start.
Mhm.
I don't know what 40-foot worth of damage up there on Wilson Street.
No, but that's gonna be repaired in Ford's bid as well.
We're gonna pay $250 a ton for that repair, and so I'm just still questioning the size of some of these repairs.
Yeah. It's gonna be up to the city to specify the cut. and whatever it is will be based upon the tonnage of asphalt used.
Okay.
Look forward. So you've heard the two bids on that. Do I hear a motion to accept one or the other of those? Glenn?
Motion for Ford.
Okay, got a motion to accept the bid by Ford Construction. Do I hear a second? A second by Alderman Hurt. All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, let's call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Hurt. Lutz. Yes. Moore.
No.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay. Motion carries. The next item on the business is police chief appointment. You might recall a few weeks, months back when Chief Howell resigned and took a job with the state. I told you that I was making Chris Crocker as our interim chief. He was the assistant chief at the time. We were going to take it, look at how he performed as the in the chief's position, and then we'd come back with some recommendation. And I've talked with Chris, and I feel like that he's up to doing the job that we need him to do. I think he's done an exemplary job while he's served as interim chief, and tonight I would like to recommend that the city board appoint him as our next chief of police.
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion by Alderman Dildy, a second by Alderman Parker to appoint Chris Crocker as the chief of police for the city of Dresden. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Downing.
Yes.
Hurt.
Yes.
Lutz. Yes. Moore.
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Budget Amendment Resolution 2021-02. Carla, you want to explain to us what that is?
Yes, I will. The first item on this is a general fund, CARES fund from the state of Tennessee. We had put part of that into our budget already. But we still have $47,316 of additional funds that were awarded that we needed to place in our budget. So this is how we had determined that we were going to spend those additional funds. And it's just putting those into the budget.
Just reviewing it, looking at like we receiving $47,316 from the state of Tennessee in revenues through the CARES funds that the state is granting to us. We're talking about spending $30,000 of that for the WKT fiber project that we talked about earlier. That was how we were going to pay for that. The IT hardware upgrades, that's here in City Hall for upgrades to our system, our computer system, and things of that nature is $8,000. E-ticket equipment, that's for the police department. That's to be able to write electronic tickets instead of having to write paper tickets to everybody. They're going to be able to write and issue electronic tickets to people on the scene with this equipment. It's been something that the department's been transitioning to for some time, and this is another step in that direction. Retaining wall repair and paving, $5,700. We're talking about this retaining wall out here that goes up and down, about doing some repair for it, and some paving out there along that as well. $5,700. Sidewalk repair, we had $816, and we were going to just put that in the general sidewalk repair budget. If we had $1 million in our budget for sidewalk repair, we wouldn't get done in Dresden, but every dollar does help, and that's where we're talking about putting that. And okay, Ms. Carla, talk about, got the general fund now. Let's talk about that.
Yes, the next item is for the fire engine. We have processed the loan, and this is to put the expenditure into the budget, so we could pay for that under our budget. And it's just entering in the funds that we received from the water and sewer into the general fund, putting that loan into our budget.
Okay.
The next item from the water and sewer fund, we had been having an issue with one of our vendors, Diebold. It's a small minor issue, but we were never getting invoiced for the purchase orders that we were placing. And we finally were contacted by Diebold and had to catch up on the multiple purchase orders that they had never invoiced us for. And these were all pertaining to prior fiscal years. And so I thought it best, instead of using all of our current year funds for those, to pull that small amount out of the fund balance because it pertained to prior years, and just add that into our current year budget. And that's only the $686. But it was a major portion of the office supplies line item for water sewer. Then the final item is to pull out the $350 that were used to purchase irises for downtown beautification out of our reserve balance for that particular expenditure for this year and place that into the executive budget.
And that could be spent for downtown renovation as well, correct?
Yes, it's for the beautification. It was reserved for downtown beautification.
Okay,
So we're using those reserved funds.
all right.
Janet, that, getting that money out of water and sewer doesn't mean that, we'll have to go up on water and sewer.
No,
or
ma'am,
will it-
no, ma'am, that's just coming out of the reserve that we have in water and
I
sewer.
didn't know.
It's technically a loan at that.
It's a loan that we repay each year.
Okay.
It's not a direct transfer, it's a loan that's gonna be repaid, that's already been approved by the comptroller's
Okay.
office, so.
Mhm.
It has no actual net
It's
effect.
legal to do that.
Yes. The general fund will repay it over a period of time.
Gotcha.
I'm making a motion, we accept it.
Okay, got a motion to approve resolution 2021-02 for the budget transfers. It's been explained by our finance director. Do I hear a second? Alderman Klutz, second. Any discussion on this before we move forward? Hearing none, I ask our city recorder to call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gelding,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Klutz. Yes. Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
All right, resolution 2021-03, it's a gift donation, and it's the amount of $200 monetary donation from an anonymous donor to the Dresden Police Department. Would be to be placed in the budget. They could spend it in whatever area they wanted to, but it's a $200 donation to the police department.
I'll make a motion, we accept it.
Got a motion to accept, second by Alderman Moore. Any further discussion? Hearing none, call the roll, please.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gelding,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Klutz. Yes. Moore,
Yes.
Parker.
Yes.
Okay. We've reached the end of our agenda tonight. We have announcements. It's a public hearing, which we held earlier, was announced and as part of our agenda on those two ordinances. And I don't know of any other announcements. There is something I said I was going to tell you later on.
You want a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, it wasn't anything major. It's just something that popped up in my mind at the time. I thought that wasn't the appropriate time to talk about it. I was going to wait to the end, but guess what? I forgot what it was. Oh,
I'm a senior.
yeah, we got a motion in second, I think. All in favor, stand. And thank y'all for being at the meeting and your participation.
Congrats.
Thank you. The entertainment was free.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
What kind of hats you got on?
It's American flag. He's very patriotic.
Okay, you're pointing at it.
He's also